The year 1994 was a great year for tabloid stories. The year began with the unbelievable attack that made U.S. women's figure skating the top story for months. Then, with that story slowly disappearing, a new one involving murder began to take shape in Los Angeles, California. As the news was consumed by these tangled stories, it's easy to forget that the year was a great one for movies, music, and television. The year 1994 was most certainly about must-see TV, but in more ways than just the Thursday night lineup on NBC. To begin the year, on January 1st, the North American Free Trade Agreement, better known as Nafta, went into effect. The purpose of the agreement was to promote trade between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico by eliminating most tariffs between the three countries. On January 6th, figure skating champion Nancy Kerrigan was attacked by an unknown assailant at the U.S. Championships in Detroit, Michigan. She was clubbed on the leg with a telescoping baton, and then the attacker escaped by breaking through a locked glass door at the arena. On February 5th, the man who killed Medgar Evers, Byron De La Beckwith, was finally convicted and sentenced to life in prison in Jackson, Mississippi. The life sentence came 30 years after the crime was committed, and De La Beckwith was in his 70s. On March 16th, figure skater Tonya Harding accepted a plea deal, and she pleaded guilty to a conspiracy charge on the attack that injured her skating rival Nancy Kerrigan. Prior to her plea deal, the two figure skaters competed in the Winter Olympics, where the entire world watched Kerrigan win the silver, while Harding finished 8th. On March 31st, the Chicago White Sox assigned former NBA superstar Michael Jordan to the Birmingham Barons of the Class AA Southern League. Shortly after, Jordan reported to spring training in Sarasota, Florida. On April 8th, songwriter and frontman for the band Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, was found dead at his Lake Washington home. It would later be confirmed that Cobain had committed suicide 3 days earlier. Also on April 8th, a smoking ban was put in place for the Pentagon, along with all U.S. military bases. This meant service members could not smoke indoors anymore, and would need to head outside to take a smoke break. On May 9th, comedian Bobcat Goldthwait set fire to the guest chair on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. His actions got him banned from the show, but he also had to pay a $2,700 fine and buy the new studio a new chair. On May 10th, the state of Illinois executed serial killer John Wayne Gacy by lethal injection for the murder of 33 young men and boys. Gacy had been on death row for 14 years, and his execution was somewhat botched when the chemicals were administered, causing a 10-minute delay in the execution. On June 12th, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were murdered outside her home in Los Angeles. O.J. Simpson, the former NFL player and commentator, would quickly become a person of interest in the case that would captivate the nation for the next year. On June 15th, Walt Disney Pictures released The Lion King. The theatrical release was hugely successful, making over $400 million in the United States that year. Not only was it the highest-grossing film of the year, but it was the highest-grossing animated film of all time. On June 17th, O.J. Simpson and his friend Al Cowling fled police in his white Ford Bronco. The low-speed chase along the highways of Los Angeles was televised nationwide and ended at Simpson's Brentwood mansion, where he surrendered to police. On July 5th, Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos in his garage. The company was officially incorporated outside of Seattle, Washington, with the name Cadabra. But after a few months, the name would be changed to Amazon.com. On July 6th, the epic movie Forrest Gump, directed by Robert Zemeckis, was released in theaters. Tom Hanks, Sally Field, Robin Wright, and Gary Sinise starred in this lovable film that spanned decades of historical moments and put Forrest Gump at the center of them all. On September 8th, during the opening of the MTV Video Music Awards, newlyweds Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley surprised viewers with a long kiss that was meant to prove their love was real. On September 14th, the World Series was canceled for the first time in 90 years due to a strike by the Major League Baseball Players Association. The strike would last until April of the next year. On September 22nd, the pilot episode of Friends aired on NBC. The episode, titled "The One Where Monica Gets a Roommate," would be the catalyst for a successful decade-long run, and the show would eventually team up with Seinfeld for NBC's Thursday night must-see TV. On October 25th, in South Carolina, a mother named Susan Smith reported she was carjacked and her 2 kids were taken. It would later be revealed that she made up the story and had actually buckled her kids into the car and drove it into a lake, drowning them. On November 8th, the Republican Revolution began with the midterm elections that saw Georgia Representative Newt Gingrich leading the Republican Party in taking control of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. This was the first time in 40 years the Republicans secured control of both houses of Congress. On November 28th, at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer was attacked and brutally beaten by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver. Dahmer, who was serving 16 life sentences, would actually die from his injuries on the way to the hospital. To finish out the year, on December 23rd, organized crime boss and FBI informant James Whitey Bulger, fearing arrest by the FBI, fled the Boston, Massachusetts area. Bulger would successfully hide in plain sight for the next 16 years, residing in Santa Monica, California. If you enjoyed this video, check out the description for links that help support the channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.